Shalawam, my Israelite family, scattered to the four corners of the earth. Now, I said I wasn't going to do a video till about mid-October. But you know, saints, you never know how the Spirit works. I've been totally engulfed in the feast days. And let me tell you something. It has been a joy and a great pleasure and honor to serve the Most High Yah. And it's been a great one, and it seems like every year it gets better and better. You know, maybe it's the fact that His people are waking up and we're beginning to see where our forefathers made their mistakes as far as them keeping the laws becoming null and void to them. Because, see, they didn't believe. They lost faith in their Elohim, which led them, of course, to worship idols and to serve the other nations and to intermingle with the other nations. So I want to say to you all, those of you who've been taking part in the feast days, I want to say happy feast days. Now, I know some of you, you celebrate it according to your timeline, whether it's the full moon or the new moon. But however, one day when we come together, brothers and sisters, we're not going to have to worry about the divisions of the dates of the feast days. We're going to all be on one accord. But what have you. But for now, I want to say happy feast days. Now, I'm really looking forward to the Feast of Tabernacles. And so I wanted to get this video in before that comes up. And you know, when it comes to Yah's feast days, His holy feast days, that's something that no man or woman can truly teach you. It has to be experienced by each individual. Now, I can show you how to build a website. I can show you other things step by step, but it's not going to mean anything until you actually put in the work and you put your hand to the plow. And see, that's the best way I can describe it. I would fail miserably trying to teach you how to keep Yah's feast days. So it can only be experienced. And see, that's what's so special about it. And that's where our forefathers left their mark. That's how they missed their mark. Because they didn't realize the importance of Yah's ceremonies. And that it was supposed to predict the future and the outcome of Israel had they obeyed. But, we're not going to go there because we know what happened with that, brothers and sisters. But, it's interesting because as I was celebrating the Feast of Trumpets, I took my shofar with me. I was out off of Highway 1. I found this little hiking place and went deep into the woods and everything. Let me tell you something. When I blew that shofar in those woods, boy, it was something fearsome. And you can just hear the echo. It was like the voice of Elohim was shouting back at me. And it almost gave me chills. I've never heard it like that before. But, that's what I'm talking about, brothers and sisters. When you get into Yah's feast days, you begin to see the love of Elohim. You begin to see His plan for His people. But you have to experience it for yourself. No one can truly teach it to you. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and get into the lesson. Just wanted to touch on that a little bit. So what we're going to talk about today, brothers and sisters, is a very interesting topic. And we're going to call this lesson, or if you want to call it a discussion, we're going to call it unseen forces. Now, what do you mean when you say unseen forces? Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. There are forces that we cannot see that is being played out across this world. Now, we know that the Most High Yah is the ultimate unseen force that's being played out across this world in behalf of His people. Well, for the Gentiles that are listening, you may be saying, well, who are you talking about? What do you mean by His people? That's exactly what I mean. His chosen people. The Israelites, the Negroes scattered to the four corners of the earth, the chosen of the Most High. Now we know that not all so-called Israelites are going to be saved. We got that. We don't have to go back over that over and over. But we know that this unseen force is the power of the Most High in behalf of his chosen people. So let me prove it to you. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32 and let's look at verse 39. It says, "See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me." Let's stop right there for a minute, saints. Now you got to get the gravity of that, because the Most High is saying that there is no other God that is above him or equal to him. It says, "I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand." Have we not seen evidence of that throughout his word? How he destroyed any enemies that rose up against his people. Time after time. We see it all throughout scriptures. And it's no difference in today's time that we're living in. Just like the Most High allowed wickedness to flourish in the days of Noah and after, he's going to allow wickedness to flourish and come to an head in our time. Now let's go to Job 9, chapter 9 and verse 24. It says, "The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?" He is the wicked ones, the ones who rule this world. And we already know who that is, Zion. Now, just because the world is given into the hands of the wicked, does that mean that the Most High Yah does not have control? Absolutely not. We just read in Deuteronomy that there is none that can be delivered out of the hands of the Most High Yah. See, the Most High Yah is the one who is playing this whole game. He's calling all the shots. And see, this is why we don't have nothing to fear, saints. We don't have anything to fear from without, only from within, which is our own people. Now, I'm not talking about in the sense of being scared of our people. I'm talking about our people are the main ones who hate one another and be the first ones to turn against you. That's what I'm talking about when I say we have nothing to fear from without, but from within. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about these unseen forces by the hand of the Most High Yah. Now, let's go back in time a little bit, saints. Let's go back roughly about 3 years. Now, if you notice how all these things you see here on this picture, with the fires, the tornadoes, the earthquakes, hurricanes, drug overdoses, flooding, the rise of suicide, the rise of plagues and pestilence. Now, those are just a few items. Now, there's tons of stuff that I can't even begin to name that has been increasing since the last 3 years. And every year, it gets worse and worse. Everything intensifies. Now, this unseen force that we're seeing has been predicted in scriptures. The Most High said that he was going to rain fury down upon these nations. And if you notice, it's not just in America, brothers and sisters. This thing is worldwide. It's been happening all over the place. A lot of you have been sending me videos of just latest events that have been taking place. I'm talking about typhoons, all kind of stuff. We can go all the way through the alphabet from A to Z, and it's happening to the heathen nations. And this is this unseen force I'm talking about that is being played out in our behalf, brothers and sisters. See, no one can escape the judgment of Yah. Remember what we read in Deuteronomy. No one. What goes around is going to come around. If we had to suffer for the sins of our forefathers, then the Gentile nations are going to have to suffer for the sins of their forefathers. Now, when we talk about these unseen forces, we are seeing the results of these unseen forces that are happening around the world. Now, Zion, you know as well as I do, as the awakened people of the Most High, we know that our Elohim is fighting in our behalf, and he is the main one that's behind this unseen force. Now, I'm calling it an unseen force because to the heathens, it is an unseen force because they don't know our Elohim. You know, their people are the main ones who kept our identity hid and that have risen against the people of the Most High. So to them, yes, it is an unseen force. Now, you have the heathens that like to say, well, this is all harp. And y'all know what harp is. And you know, that very well may be, because the Bible did say in Job 9:24 that the world is given into the hand of the wicked. Now, they do have some stuff out there that Elohim allowed these wicked devils to produce, to use to their own wicked glory. But remember, they only have a limited access. They don't have full control. Okay? The Most High is the one who is in full control, and he's allowing these things to happen to show them that they are not really in control. And this is why we shouldn't be fearing. We serve a mighty and powerful Elohim. Can't be compared to nothing in the universe. So they'll say, the heathens will say it's harp doing all this stuff. Now, you know, and I also want to talk about all the different sightings that have been taking place. People have been seeing UFOs. People have been seeing strange animal behavior around the globe. Just strange phenomena. I mean, just happening all over the place. Sinkholes. You name it. We can go on. And I still wouldn't come close to the things that are constantly going on in this world. Now, let's go ahead and fast forward for a few minutes. We are so close to the end. It's not even funny. We feel it, Zion. We know it. This will be the generation that's going to see all of this come to an head, and we're going to witness firsthand the destruction of all the nations. Let's go to Revelation chapter 16, and we're going to read verses 17 through 18. This is dealing with the seventh vial, or the seventh last plague. And it's not going to be no joke, nothing to play with. Let's go there. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, "It is done." And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake. Y'all heard that, Zion? A great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake, and so great. Now, we got to be visionaries here. Now, when the Most High shakes the earth, he's going to shake the earth, and the whole world is going to know it. And that's why I'm saying these little storms and catastrophes that are happening right now around the world, oh, that's nothing, Zion. That is nothing. That's only a taste to what's to come. But the Most High is going to shake the whole earth when he pours out his seventh last plague, or his vial. Now, this is going to happen right after this Armageddon, or after the war kicks off, and the nukes are going, because, you know, of course, when the nuke starts flying, that's it. You know, and that's going to destroy everything. So within that, we don't know the time frame, but within the midst of all of that going on, it's going to happen simultaneously. It's going to just happen all over. It's going to be so overwhelming. In that moment, the Most High is going to deliver his people. But the point I wanted to make in this, the part where it says, and there was a great earthquake. Now, this happened before. Now, I want to see if you can remember that. Can y'all remember when in time this happened? Of course, it wasn't in our generation. Wasn't our forefathers' generation. It was way before that. But let me show you. All right, let's go to the book of Jasher. Jasher chapter 6. Now, this is one of the lost books. Jasher chapter 6, verse 11. And on that day, Elohim caused the whole earth to shake, and the sun darkened. Sounds familiar? And the foundations of the world raged, and the whole earth was moved violently, and the lightning flashed, and the thunder roared, and all the foundations in the earth were broken up, such as was not known to the inhabitants before. Now remember, we just read in Revelation, a similar event was not known to the inhabitants of the earth. Let's continue. And Elohim did this mighty act in order to terrify the sons of men, that there might be no more evil upon the earth. I don't think you got that, Zion. I don't think you heard that clear enough. Let me read that last part again. It says, in order to terrify the sons of men, that there might be no more evil upon earth. Now that's powerful. That is powerful. And it says, and Elohim did this mighty act in order to terrify the sons of men, that they would not commit evil again on the face of the earth. But we all know what happened after that. You know, and I thought that was so powerful when I read that. I was like, wow. And out of all of that, the wicked went back right what they were doing. No fear of Elohim whatsoever. No fear. And we're seeing it in our time right now as we speak. No fear for Elohim. Let's continue. Let's go on to verse 12. And still the sons of men would not return from their evil ways. And they increased the anger of Elohim at that time, and did not even direct their hearts to all of this. So in other words, they forgot. It's just like when it came to the Tower of Babel, they had forgotten. They had forgotten how the Most High delivered Noah and his 3 sons. Just all forgotten. They've forgotten why the earth was destroyed in the first place, because of extreme wickedness. And it's no difference in our time today. Our people just don't want to do right. They want to continue to do wicked. They want to continue to worship their idols. They want to continue to join with wickedness. You know, I used to hear the elders growing up used to always use this term, it's almost midnight. And I used to always wonder, well, what do they mean by midnight? And it wasn't until, I started studying on my own, and I realized when they said midnight, they were talking about when sin is at its worst. Midnight is when it's darkest outside, but midnight is when sin is at its worst. And we're almost at midnight, Zion. Sin is increasing so much. And when you thought that it couldn't get no worse, it's getting much worse. I'm talking about every vile affection, every single wickedness has increased. And just within the last 10 years, you can see a big difference. It's like a whole different time zone from 10 years ago. I mean, it's phenomenal the way things are speeding up and how prophecy is being fulfilled right before our very eyes. It's just like the men of renown back in those days continued in their wickedness. We do the same today in this current time. And we see all this stuff happening around us. And you would think, with everything that's happening, you would think the majority of our sleeping Hebrews, I don't want to call them so-called black folks, but I'm going to say sleeping Hebrews in these Sunday churches would wake up. But it's just the power of Christianity. They want to follow these heathens. Now, you may say, well, I hear you say heathens and Gentiles. So what's the difference? Well, brothers and sisters, there is no difference. They're unclean, an unclean nation. The Bible calls them unclean. That is why we are not to join unto them. We are not to integrate with them. We are to be separated from them. Now, what do I mean when I say be separate from them? Now, if you have a heathen that's living next door to you in your apartment, there's nothing you can do about that. We all work with heathens on a daily basis. There's nothing you can do about that. But we don't got to converse with them. We don't got to socialize with them. We don't got to intermingle with them. Now, if you have a heathen that comes up to you and wants to know about the faith, by all means, tell them, share the blessings. But I guarantee you, you're not going to get too many that's going to come up to you and acknowledge or give you any kind of due respect of who you are, because the world got their eyes on these fake Khazars that are over in Jerusalem. That's who they looking to as the real Jews in their eyes. So, we got to reach out to our own people first, to the Jew first. What makes you think that the Gentiles are going to beat us to the kingdom and then get our blessings? What makes you think that the Most High all of a sudden is going to just forget about his people and just grab the Gentiles and just leave the rest of the Negroes scattered to the four corners of the earth, just leave them desolate? No, y'all need to read the scriptures. There's a reason why the Most High calls them an unclean, filthy nation, because they worship their idols. They love their idols. And you so-called Hebrews that want to follow after them, you're going to be destroyed in the lake as well. Now let's go to Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12, because we're talking about these unseen forces. Now there's the other side of this too, because you have spiritual wickedness that is at an all-time high. But like I said before, saints, the Most High is the ultimate controller here. Nobody pulls the strings without the Most High's permission. And he has given these wicked heathens limited access to rule the world. All right. So let's go to Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12. It says, For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers. What are these powers? These ruling powers that are always keeping us down, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. See, these heathens, they know who they worship. They know exactly what they're doing. They put it in all their Hollywood movies. They put it in all their religions, their politics. Who you think they're fooling? Not the awakening of Israel. We know what's going on, brothers and sisters. We see it. So what I want to show you now, Zion, is a video clip. Now, I've showed this clip before. It was in one of my earlier lessons. And it's about 11 minutes long. So this clip is going to be talking about the Grand Wizard, Albert Pike, and how him and his Illuminati buddies got together and planned both world wars and planned also the third war. So it's going to give a layout on how all these three world wars are planned out and what the purpose and the reason behind these three world wars. Now, we talked about Job 9:24. The world is given into the hand of the wicked. And the Most High has allowed these wicked people to do their thing. Now, we are going to have World War III, brothers and sisters. There's no way around that. You look at the drum beats going on right now around the world. The drum beats are banging louder and louder. Every day that goes by, the drum beats are banging louder and louder. Technically, we're already in World War III. We're in the trade war phase. And you see all these trade wars that are going on between all these countries. It's getting ugly. Now, the next thing is going to be the physical. Once these trade wars get to the point where of no return, and it's already at a point of no return, it's going to pop. It's going to pop like a big bubble, and everything is going to happen simultaneously It's going to happen all at once. It's going to happen so fast, it's going to make our heads spin. And we're going to be like, man, what is going on? But we really know, we know what's going on. We are living in the last seconds. So I want you to check out this clip. Watch it. It's going to talk about the plan, about all these 3 world wars. I mean, it's in depth. And I did my research on it too. So I want you to check it out.
This video will cover Grand Wizard Albert Pike's 3 World War predictions, which are quite frankly stunning. But first, I want to give a background on the person who exposed the Illuminati's preparations for World War III and how they plan to use Islam to destroy the West. A secret diary was released by a man with information about elitist organizations and the New World Order. This diary documents that the Illuminati already knows what is going to happen for World War III. It's already mapped out. The agenda's already set. The diary that exposes this agenda belonged to a man named William Carr, who was born in 1895. Carr entered into Canada's Royal Navy at a very young age and ascended to the position of commander. He knew many at the top of their fields in politics and law and in academia. His side hobby was writing books, specifically books on the New World Order. His books documented the breadth in which the Illuminati had taken over all aspects of society, including churches and seminaries. In fact, Carr claimed to have received an SOS letter from a high-ranking official in the Roman Catholic Church in November 1958. The letter outlined a hostile takeover that was underway in the Vatican, the Illuminati having infiltrated the Vatican's quarters. Carr would die less than a year after receiving the SOS message. Carr also documented history behind the most elusive organization in world history, the Illuminati, and their religion, which is Luciferianism. He believed that modern organizations, including the Bilderberg Group and the Council on Foreign Relations, are Luciferian political organizations. He also believed that the chief governing body for Lucifer, for the ascension of the capstone, was the United Nations, and he documented this in his books. Carr wrote several books. His most controversial book was published after his death. It is called Satan, Prince of This World, and is really nothing more than Carr's personal diary and notes he saved for many years. In this book, Carr documents receiving the SOS letter from the high-ranking Vatican official, but he also documents other interesting things. For example, Carr believed that secret societies weren't working independently of one another, but that they were controlled by a top-level organization called the World Revolutionary Movement. And that's literally in his book, Satan, Prince of the World. This organization at the top tier is interested in inciting war, terrorism, and distress to serve its fundamental interests. And that is to establish the New World Order, a Luciferian system of governance and religion. Carr speaks at length about World War III in his book, Satan, Prince of the World. He documents that World War III was planned by a 33rd degree Grand Wizard named Albert Pike. Albert Pike was a notorious Luciferian who openly praised Lucifer in his book Moral and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Pike was also a general for the Confederacy during the Civil War, and a wizard of occult magic, channeling and summoning of spirits. William Carr documented that Albert Pike wrote a letter to a friend in 1871 outlining the final and largest of the wars. According to Carr, what Albert Pike actually wrote was a lot more than a letter. It was a blueprint that spelled out exactly what would happen in the last war. Carr said, quote, "In the 1860s, Albert Pike is recorded as saying his military program might take 100 years or a little longer to reach the day when those who direct the conspiracy at the top will crown their leader king despot of the entire world and impose a Luciferian totalitarian dictatorship upon what is left of the human race." That's what they're saying. Pike seems to indicate a conspiracy to start a war so that the Antichrist can ascend to his position as world ruler. Pike's letter ironically also detailed the specifics of the first two wars with stunning accuracy, suggesting that he knew before time the details surrounding each of the wars. World War I, according to Pike, would be fought to overthrow the czars in Russia and change Russia into a communist state. The Second World War would be fought for two reasons: to establish the State of Israel and to expand communist control over Europe. The Third World War will be what allows the Novus Ordo Seclorum to rise out of the dust. According to Pike, Islam will be the central factor in the downfall of the West. Islam will be decimated in the process, allowing for the new religion of pure Luciferianism to spread on the earth. All Muslims will fall for this system. There isn't a single Muslim on earth who will not partake in the religion of the New World Order, according to Pike. Islam is merely a tool to destroy the Christian West. That's it. That's all it is. It's a tool. That's what they said hundreds of years ago. The master plan to use Islam was kicked off in 2001 when the fear of Americans was taken advantage of by an esoteric cabal lurking in the shadows.
Do you not think an angel rides in the whirlwind?
In his inaugural address, George W. Bush proclaimed that an angel would ride the whirlwind and direct the storm. The master plan was unveiled in 2001 for World War III. They started Albert Pike's blueprint when they flew 2 planes into the World Trade Centers and blamed it on Islam. The storm that would come and the angel that would bring it were long-awaited prophetic fulfillments. And as Albert Pike, Grand Wizard of the craft, had predicted, Islam would be the choice religion to use to foment a crisis between it and the West that would only get worse. What is the common factor every time we see a crisis? Who's behind it? Islam. And they want you to believe it's organically an issue of Islam. This was planned hundreds of years ago, and they have quite a plan for Islam. The esoteric cabal is using Islam to achieve the great work. It's all been mapped out. We've seen what they're doing with the migrant crisis. We've seen what they've done in England with the Sharia courts, and on and on and on. They're using Islam to stir the pot. The system has to come down. It has to topple. Islam will be used for the ultimate goal, and that is to fully usher in the Luciferian capstone. They're going to keep using it to destroy Western Christianity, Western culture. It's going to happen, and there's really nothing you can do about it except to pray. That's it. That's what we're called to do. It's been predicted. They've known about this since at least the late 1800s. And even earlier than that, I think. All world wars have been mapped out. The third and the last one was already written in the books. You have no control over this. This is a battle between principalities and powers and dominions. And that is why our brother Paul told us to pray and to go to war against those principalities and powers.
And from the ashes of their world, we'll build a better one.
Do you not think an angel rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm?
Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order can emerge, a new era, freer from the threat of terror.
This work continues. The story goes on. And an angel still rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm.
A world where the United Nations, freed from Cold War stalemate, is poised to fulfill the historic vision of its founders.
Zion, I really pray and hope that that sunk in. And with the things that are going on around us, we know that it's getting ready to go down. And it's getting ready to go down so hard that it's irreversible. We are at a point of no return. It's it. This is it, Zion. It's just a matter of time. Now, like I said, we don't know the time in all of this happening because there are still some things that are still have yet to take place. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But it's happening so fast. It's like the Most High is speeding up his prophecies. And it's like, wow, every day I wake up, it's like you just know through the Spirit that, and you can't explain it to nobody. It's like you really can't show all the evidence of your own for it, but we see it all around us. We know, the evidence is there, of course. We see it every day in the news. We see it all around us of what's happening, but we don't see it to the full extent. So the Most High, little by little, is giving us spiritual eyes to be able to see these things. And I'm telling you, man, it's just, we are in for one heck of a ride. And I'm going to tell you, we have nothing to fear. One of my favorite verses is in Psalms 91, where the whole chapter is. And really, saints, we have nothing to fear. We have nothing. We should be getting excited. Now, I know some people may say, well, we shouldn't be getting excited about this because it's a day of gloom and horror. Well, it's not for us. Yeah, for the heathens, it's going to be a time of gloom and horror. But brothers and sisters, if we're seeking after the righteousness of the Most High and keeping his laws, you have nothing to worry about. You do those two. Why do you think I always quote Revelations 14:12 at the end of each lesson? There's a reason for that, because I'm trying to get it in your head that those who keep the commandments of the Most High and have the faith of Hamashiach, those are the ones that are going to make it in. What part of that do you not get? But we still have our brothers and sisters that are just fearful. They'll see something like this. Oh, no, we got to get walkie-talkies. We got to start stockpiling. We got to get this. We got to get that. Oh, no, we got to get out of America. We got to go somewhere in Africa. What are you afraid of? You're running around like chickens with your head cut off and don't even know why. And I'm telling you, I've seen some scary Hebrews just come on my page and be like, oh, we got to do this. We got to do all that. And I'm reading it and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. These Hebrews are so scared. What are they scared of? But we got to get out of that. The Bible says if you have faith as a mustard seed, just that little, a mustard seed is a small seed. We got faith as a mustard seed. We can say to the mountains, move, get out the way. Let's read Psalms 91, 5-6. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. Verse 6. nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. Y'all hear that? So when we see these things going on, the Most High is going to protect his people. I don't care where you're located at. It doesn't matter what part of the four corners you're located. The Most High is going to protect you if you're doing according to his word. Now get that straight. And I've seen it. So, brothers and sisters, we got to be concentrating on the righteousness of the Most High and keeping his laws. That's the main thing we should be worried about. All this other stuff, what does it say? It says, don't fear him that can destroy the body, but fear him that destroys both body and soul. So you better fear the Most High, brothers and sisters. That's who we should be fearing. Not these heathens, not their words or what's getting ready to happen. We need to fear the Most High Yah. And see, when it's all said and done, when the Most High cracks that sky, it's going to be like this. And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. Now, you know the heathens are not going to say it like that. They're going to be like, hide us from this nigga. We didn't know he was black. Why did you not tell us he was black? You lied to us. They're going to be in shock. They're going to be in horror to realize that they thought their savior was going to be a white man. Blue eyes. No, ain't your savior. You had the wrong guy. You had a man called Caesar Borgia. That's your savior. That's the one you worship in your movies and in your pictures and in your churches. That's the man you worship. So I better get ready for it, because they're going to be in for a great shocker when they see that. But that's okay. Let them stay in denial. You know, it's just the more denial they stay in, the greater the shock. And it's going to all be worth it to see the expressions on their faces when all that happens. If we're still alive, if Yah's willing. So, brothers and sisters, we have nothing to fear if we are seeking after the righteousness of the Most High and keeping his laws. Now, let's go to Revelation. Revelation chapter 20 and verse 4, as we draw to a close. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Hamashiach, and for the word of Elohim, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their forehead or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years. Now I want to read this to bring out a point. So, brothers and sisters, there are still some things that are getting ready to take place that has not happened yet. Now, we know that Babylon is a worldwide system. Her ways, her pagan ways, her religions is worldwide. And this mark of the beast hasn't not been fully initiated yet. Now, we don't know the time frame of this. And we don't know when all this is going to happen, whether it's going to be 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 8. We just don't know. This is why it's so important to seek after the righteousness of the Most High and keep his laws. And we can't be constantly worried about this kind of stuff or fearing this kind of stuff, because it's not going to matter. Now, I'm not saying that every one of us is going to be beheaded, but many of us will be. And we're living in a time, brothers and sisters, it is no time to fear. All right? It is no time to fear. The Most High did not give us the spirit of fear. And that's what we got to understand. And like I said earlier, I've read so many comments of Hebrews coming to my site just scared out of their minds. We got to get out of that mindset. When we start rehearsing these righteous, set apart acts, we become more comfortable in serving Elohim. And that's what we got to get. We got to be so strong in the Most High. And the way we do that is we keep exercising our faith in the Most High. Don't deny his words. Now, with that being said, let's go to Revelation 14:12. It says, here is the patience of the saints. Here are those who keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Hamashiach. That is so important, Zion. I can't stress that enough. And I don't care how many lessons the Most High allows me to do, I'm going to always leave off with Revelation 14:12. Always. I'm not going to change it. It's going to be like that until we get it. Now, I know a lot of you got it, but we got to keep rehearsing that. So I pray that you were edified in this lesson, and I look forward to the next one. Got a lot of interesting lessons coming forth. We still got to do the 2 witnesses. That's going to be in the near future, and that's going to be a really good one, brothers and sisters. So, and I pray that you just be patient with me, bear with me. But in the meantime, I say shalom and stay strong.